Hello, everyone. This is Holly Chantal, the president of the Land of Brand, and your lead Mad Brand scientist. You have joined the Land of Brand Laboratory, or as I like to call it, the LOBoratory for short. And if you've never joined us before, we meet every Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, and we talk about different topics in branding. So how you can build a trailblazing brand that allows you to share your message with the world and literally do what you love every single day. Membership for this community is completely free. There will be replays available, so if you want to sign up for reminders and you miss a week, I do send out replays. And I'm always looking for new topics or questions to answer. So you can email those to holly@thelandofbrand.com if you have a topic in branding that you would like to see covered. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the platform, we are using Zoom. And at the top of your screen, if you put your mouse up there, you should see a little chat bubble. You can click on the chat bubble and it will open up a window where you guys can talk to each other. You can send me messages. If you want to talk to each other, make sure that you set it to everyone. Otherwise, it will just come to me. And that's where you can ask questions or leave your own comments and thoughts about today's topic. This is a community, so we definitely want to hear from you. So today, we're going to be talking about Trello. So about once a month, I want to do a business tools spotlight because I get questions all the time about what types of business tools, software, et cetera, that I use in my business. And I know that finding good software can be very time-consuming, kind of a pain when you're having to test everything. So I like to share the stuff that is working for me, so to maybe save you guys some of the trouble. So today we'll talk about how to use Trello for project management, whether you're flying solo or if you have a team. All right, see everyone's logging in. Hello, Deborah. It's been so long. I haven't seen you. Good to see you. All right. So today's abstract, which is basically our game plan, is how to keep all of your balls in the air without forgetting them, because as an entrepreneur, you're obviously also an expert juggler. What to look for in project management software, how to organize your solo work. So if you're the solo person in your business, how do you keep track of everything? And even if you have a team, how do you keep a track of your own stuff? And then how do you use project management software to organize your team so that you can keep a pulse on what's going on in your business and what other contractors are doing for you or other employees are doing for you without having to bug them constantly. All right, so are you an entrepreneur or are you an expert juggler? Chances are you are both. The success you have in your business is usually based on how much you can manage at once. Because being the business owner, you wear a lot of hats. You are the marketing person. You are the salesperson. You are actually delivering the service. You are creating content. You're doing everything until you start to build a team. And then still, even if you're not doing everything, you're still managing everything and you have a lot on your plate. As soon as one thing gets done, another thing comes up. Oftentimes we make all these lists and we forget things. It's kind of like, I found, kind of like being a parent. It's like the list is never ending. And you forget things all the time unless you write them down. But it's really pointless to write something down because then you have to carry that piece of paper with you, or you end up with a piece of paper that has all these things crossed off, but you keep adding to it, and it just doesn't work. So that's why project management software is important. Plus, you have a personal life. So not only do you wear a lot of hats in your business, which creates a million tasks for you to keep track of, if you're lucky enough, you also have a personal life and a family, and they have a lot of things to manage outside of your business. If you add all of this up, you basically have a recipe for disaster. You start dropping balls, you start disappointing clients, you start disappointing yourself, your family, and that can lead to a lot of guilt and a lot of stress and a lot of overwhelm that is really unnecessary because there's ways around it. So project management software is your external brain. It will store a lot of these pieces for you, a lot of these balls for you, so that you can focus on one thing at a time. What I have found, that twilight phase as you're going to sleep and you start thinking of all the things you have to do, I feel like once I write those things down and I know that they're going to be there, I'm not going to forget them, I have something that I can look at, it eases my mind and I can really focus on the task at hand, which in that case is sleep. But this also happens during the day in your business where you're focusing on writing the LOBoratory webinar, for instance, and I start thinking about all the other things that I need to make sure I get done today. If I have a place to write those things down, I can table them versus having to try to keep a list in my mind going and going and going so that I don't forget anything. So the software keeps track of everything for you and for your team. And depending on the type of business you have, you're going to have different needs. So for some of you, it might just be keeping lists. For others, we do website design. So there are, we have projects that have a lot of moving parts. They're the same typically between clients. So we have, different needs than someone that's a solopreneur that's focusing more, one-on-one coaching services or that kind of thing. So depending on the type of business you have, your software is going to need to be able to do different things for you. And what I found is that the simpler the system, the better. So let's look at what you should be looking for in your project management software. So first, it needs to be easy, 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 easy to use. Because if it's not, you're not going to use it. There are so many different types of software out there. They vary in levels of complexity. I think many of them are just, over-the-top complex unnecessarily. You don't need to, have to click through 3 different screens to get to the piece I want, that kind of thing. So I like to keep things stupid simple because I find that the simpler it is, the more I use it, the more my team uses it, and that's really where you're going to get the value from software. The highest value is going to come with what you use. It needs to be accessible anywhere and across devices. So I need to be able to, when I'm at the supermarket and I remember something, I need to be able to put it into my phone. I don't have my laptop with me, thank goodness. And then I need to be able to add things to my laptop and be able to see them later when I'm at a meeting, on my iPad or my phone. So you want to make sure that it's universal across all of your devices. It needs to be customizable to your business needs. So like I said, every business is going to have different things that they need to keep track of. And the software needs to be adaptable. It needs to not be geared toward tracking one type of particular task or one type of project. You need to be able to customize pieces. And ideally, what I found has been difficult in finding the right project management software for us because, like I said, we do a lot of things that are repeatable. Like website design has particular phases and certain tasks that need to be executed at those phases. I like to be able to customize project templates to be able to use those over and over again. So that's just one example of making sure that your software is customizable. So having something that you don't have to keep inputting the same thing over and over again, that you can create some kind of template for your business so that, again, it's easy, easy, easy to use. Doesn't overcomplicate things. Again, it's kind of like real estate's about location, location, location. Project management is about easy, 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 easy. Because again, if it's not simple, you're not going to use it. And it has to work with your brain. So we all think about things differently. I am someone that keeps a lot of lists. I like to have, I used to have like the Post-it notes, and if you look in my office right now, I literally have giant Post-it notes 2 feet by 3 feet. They're lining the entire wall with mind maps and project lists and that kind of thing, because that's how I think. And for some of you, that works, and some of you might think a little bit differently. So by finding software that jives with kind of the way your brain organizes things is going to go a long way to making these things easy to use. So why do I like Trello? So Trello, if you don't know what it is, it's project management software, Trello.com, Trello, and it's free. There are also paid versions that have extra doohickeys on them, but not all those doohickeys are necessary. I still use the free version, and it's been serving me very well. So the reason why I like it is because it kind of works like Post-it notes. But instead of being in the real world, they're in the virtual world, and they can be moved around and deleted and changed. Where if I'm writing something physically, the only way to change it is to erase it or cross it out, and then you end up with messiness, and that's just not good. Doesn't help you stay organized if things are messy. So what I like about it is that it's highly, highly customizable. So you can create multiple boards where you put your, we're just going to call them like Post-it notes, or they call them cards. So you can create boards for different types of tasks, different projects. So I have a board that is for me and my developer. I have a board that's for me and my VA. I have a board that's just, I have a few boards just for me. So, you know, personal tasks versus, I had a board when we were planning Brand Your Awesome Live, my live event in December. I had a board for that. So you might have a board that's for a particular project, for a particular team member. However you want to organize things, you can. And then you add your cards to those bigger boards. So it kind of helps you break things down into smaller and smaller pieces. Now I'm going to show you how what this looks like, just kind of explaining what I like about it first. You can create to-do lists. So in the cards, there's different types of cards you can create. One of them is checklist, which I find really, really helpful because oftentimes one task might have, or one deliverable might have a lot of different steps to it. For example, the LOBoratory calls, we're creating a procedure now so that once I record these calls, what has to happen in order for them to be posted to the blog, distributed on social media, posted to YouTube, so that, you know, making sure that all of those things are executed every single time. So you can do that by just creating one card with a checklist in it, and then you can keep duplicating that checklist every week for the next call. Things like that. That also falls under templates. So I can create templates for different types of projects and repeat them over and over again. They're also shareable. So I can share boards with different team members, but doesn't have to be everyone, because my VA does not need to know what I'm doing with my developer for the most part. And I can also share things with clients. So I can share a board with a client to make sure that their project is staying on track if we needed to do that. So being able to share them across teams or keeping to yourself is cool. There are add-ons. For example, we can post, for example, my VA was working on creating thumbnails for our YouTube videos. And she could create the thumbnail and then just post the link from our Dropbox so that I could take a look at it without her having to send me an email, me log into Dropbox, find the folder, find the file, and look at it. She was able to post it right to the board, which really streamlines things. So add-ons like that, being able to set due dates for things, reminders. They have a whole slew of what they call power-ups. And again, some of them are paid, but you know, there are a couple free ones, but that just kind of add different functionality, and what's the word? Integrations with different pieces of software that you use every day, so that it becomes this kind of central place for you to organize everything in your business. I personally have private boards that are just for me, and then I have team boards for people on my team. And the best part is it is free. So let's look at some examples. Now that I've talked about this, and you probably have no idea what I'm talking about because you can't actually see it, let's show you. So I'm just going to pull this over from my other monitor. All right, so this is just an example. This is a dummy board. This is not real. So this is an example of a board for just solopreneurs, just keeping track of random things. So this whole green spot is a board, and then each of these are their own kind of categories. And you can drag them and move them wherever you want, whatever order you want them in. And basically, each of these verticals are kind of a different topic. So I just have to-dos as a topic because there might be different types of to-dos that I don't want them all mixed up. So these are like the urgent, I need to get done right away. So if you click on that, you can see it's a checklist. I need to email this proposal to Amelia. I need to write my newsletter for April 2nd, and I can check these off as they go. So I can just keep adding to this to-do list and checking things off, and they disappear when I'm done with them, which is fantastic. You can also set due dates that, let's say this list is for, well, actually, let's use a different example. Let's say it's accounting. So let's say at the end of March, I need to, have billed all my time for March, done all my QuickBooks categorization. So I'm going to set the due date for end of March for this board or this card. And basically, then I'll get reminders, I'll get little alerts and that kind of thing as the date approaches to make sure that I actually do those things. So for me, I might use this board to track different clients and different billable hours so that I can bill them at the end of the month, because they kind of tally up hours throughout the month. It can be difficult to track all of that. So if I'm keeping that tally right here on this board, then at the end of the month I can send all my invoices out, check them off, they're good to go, and it makes, make sure I get paid, make sure my developer gets paid, and that things aren't slipping through the cracks. So it's just a really neat way to track things. And again, if you look on the right-hand side here, I can add members, so I can share this with someone. I can add labels for even more organization. I can add attachments, so videos, documents, graphics, that kind of thing that need to go along with this board. We can have conversations. I'm going to show you one that's with me and my virtual assistant so that you can kind of see what this looks like. But you can write, write comments back and forth with each other, kind of have a conversation. It's all logged right here. I can subscribe so that anytime any updates happen to this board, it emails me. And I can also move this to a completely different board if I wanted to. So let's say this is a sales tracking board, and I'll show you an example of that. And I have a hot lead that signs up. I can then move them to a different project board where now we get them set up to do their coaching calls or set up to do their website or that kind of thing. So it's just really flexible without being like really confusing to use. So to-dos, so we have urgent to-dos, accounting, outsourcing. This is actually something that I do use as I come up with things like throughout the day that I'm like, I really don't need to be doing this. I should be handing this off to my VA. I put that on this list because it just keeps it helps me keep track of those things, because when you sit down and you're thinking, what could I be outsourcing, or what should I create a procedure so that someone else can do, that kind of thing, you go blank, or at least I do. So if I keep this top of mind as I go throughout the day, then I can kind of batch tasks and create procedures for those when I have time. And then personal. So this is just personal to-dos that I have that I kind of keep them tracked differently than my urgent client need to have this done type of to-do. This other card might be, so this is for follow-up. So oftentimes, you say you're going to call someone, or you have a conversation, sales conversation, and they're like, yeah, not right now, check in with me in 3 months. Well, you got to remember to do that. So what you might do is create a follow-up board or follow-up card. where you put their contact information, maybe a little bit of information about the conversation you had, and then set the due date for when it is you're actually supposed to contact them. And again, that'll just kind of help you keep track of who you need to follow up with so they don't fall through the cracks. Or you might create a card for a particular project that you're working on. So if you're working on your website, you might need to kind of put the different tasks I need to have. I need to find a developer. I need to write my opt-in sequence. I need to write my services page. Even within these tasks, there might be checklists like, well, in order to write my opt-in sequence, I need to know the topic. I need to write the actual opt-in, and then I need to write the 3 autoresponders that go along with that opt-in. It's not just a one and done kind of thing. So this just kind of gives you an example of how easy this software is to use. You just add a card and type in your topic, hit enter, and that's it. And then if I click on that card now, I can add information to it, add checklists, etc. So very, very, very easy to use. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm not seeing anything right now, but I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anyone. All right, so let me show you some examples here. So this is a board that I have with my VA, and this is how I organize things with teams. So we have basically 4 categories. We have on deck, which is like the queue, doing, ready for me to review it, and then I move it to done once I've approved it. So these are all the tasks that she has this week. And right now she is working on the LOBoratory branding, so she's creating the thumbnails for, so since the LOBoratory just relaunched, it's actually almost been a month, I think this is our 4th call. I did them for like 3 years, and there are, I forget how many, I think there's like 50 videos on YouTube that basically they're just being uploaded to YouTube. I never added descriptions to them. I never added thumbnails. I never even titled them. They just were automatically being uploaded. So I have her actually going back through and optimizing all of them and putting in custom thumbnails and adding episode numbers and all of that. So if we look at this, there's a description of exactly what she needs to do, like to the letter. This is how I want things named. I could have done this probably a little nicer in a list. I could have created a checklist for each of them. You'll see she created the template and then sent it to me. She attached it here so that I didn't have to go through email or anything, and I could just see if I like the template or not. And then we have this whole conversation going on about questions or tweaks that need to be made. So it's all right here. So the cool thing about this is the whole conversation around this particular project that we're working on is all in one place, but it's also in my email. So if you're like me, I have a hard time remembering to log into things and check it. So if it doesn't come through my email, it usually I don't get that ping to go look at it. So that's why I subscribe to these so that I get an email anytime that there's a change and I know to log in. The other thing I do is this isn't my normal browser. I don't usually use Chrome. I just use it when I'm sharing files so that you don't have, because I have all my add-ons and everything on my normal browser. But usually with browsers where you have these tabs up here at the top, sometimes you can pin a tab. So what I usually do is pin, I pin my Entreport and I pin my Trello. That way it's always open. I just click on it throughout the day, see what I need to do. But it's not taking up a lot of space on my windows or keeping me distracted or anything like that. So you'll see that each of these is its own kind of mini project with instructions and questions and checklists and that kind of thing. So what she does is, right now she's working on doing, so she's working on this. When this is done, she'll move it to ready for review. I get a notification that I need to review it, so I go in, make sure everything looks good. If it looks good, I put it into done. If there still needs to be tweaks, then I add a comment and move it back to the on deck. And that's really how it works. I have the same board that I use with my developer. That one's a little bit more complex because we have There's like launch checklists or content checklists, and things that need to be tested on each site before we make them live. So that one has a little bit more customization, but this basic structure is the same: the queue, the doing, ready for review, and the done. So it's just an easy way to kind of stay organized with people. All right, I'm seeing a couple questions here. So Deborah asks, how does it notify you? Trello email. Do you need to have Trello open to get those notifications? What are the paid options that you get? Okay, so I'm going to answer these one at a time. So how does Trello notify you? If you subscribe to, so if I click on this, you'll see how it says that I've a little checkbox that I subscribed. Basically, any changes that are made to this board, I get a notification through my email that either this card was moved or this comment was made, that kind of thing. You don't have to always subscribe. You can also, so Autumn, if I reply to this, it'll put her name in here and it'll email her when I add a comment that's directed to her. That way, if you have like 5 different team members that we're all working on the same board, you can just notify individual people based on their username. The other way it notifies you is I also have my Trello on my phone. So I get little, what do you call them, like push notifications on my notification screen, and I get them on my iWatch when anything's been changed. So it has a couple of different ways of notifying you. You can really customize how that works, so how you want to be notified. If you just want them through the app on your phone, or if you want emails, you can customize how that works for you. The paid options, you'd have to look at the website. I don't have the paid service, but if you go to Trello.com and you look at, they have a gold and they have a business, and I think what you get is basically add-ons. So different pieces of software that it integrates with, like Salesforce, Google Drive, like your calendar. Basically, there's different pieces of software that might be included in a paid version versus the free version. So it really depends on what software you need it to integrate with and whether or not you'd need the paid version. The other thing it does is I can, instead of just changing the colors of my boards, I can add cool backgrounds and have more options for colors, which I don't really care about. So it's not worth it for me at this point to do the paid version. But if you like to pretty things up, then maybe that will be for you. Deborah also says, I can see how this would be good for each of my clients to keep track of life coaching calls. Yes. I wonder, what do you use for your clients to keep track of the calls and updates? So for me, I don't have any kind of tracking system for my coaching calls, but that's just because I have a pretty systematic approach to what we're doing, or I know I keep track, where each person is in the process. I do have my handy dandy notebook that I take notes on every client, and so this is like my lifeline, my notebook, because I am really tactile. So if I take notes on a client, what we talked about, I might write down what we need to do next. That way, right before I get on the phone with them, I can review the last week's notes, what their homework was, that kind of thing. And you could do that in Trello. You could do that in your contact management system if you wanted to do that. This is just what works for me. I use Trello more for keeping track of my tasks, things that I have to do, because there's just so many moving parts that if I don't write them down, I will forget them. And then also just tracking things between me and people on my team. That way I'm not, constantly pinging them. What are you working on? When is this going to be done? That kind of thing. Like, we can really kind of manage it through Trello. So that's that. Let me show you one other. Where is it? This is just an example board I made. So this is another way you could organize if you're using it as a contact management system. So sales opportunities, or this might be a sales funnel. So shown interest, this might be a list of the people that I've done strategy calls with. Once I do the strategy call, are they a strong lead? I could add them here so that I know to follow up with them in the next couple days, set a due date. Follow up at a later date. So that's for people that, they are interested in working together, but maybe not right now. And I want to kind of ping myself in 3 months to contact them again. I can put that there. Potential JVs. So this might be where I keep a list of all the people I'm reaching out to for joint venture opportunities. So this type of board is really good just for tracking people. I had something similar to this when I was doing the organizing the live event. So I had a list of people that had shown interest in the event, people that had registered, they were going to attend, people that I needed to keep following up with, people that had shown interest in sponsoring, and also people that had shown interest, had said that they would email, like affiliates, that kind of thing. So I had all these different boards or different cards. That way I knew kind of who to keep track of each week, because with that kind of project, it's really important that you follow up with people a lot, and it's very difficult to keep track of like the 20 people that you need to call this week. So keeping this kind of Trello board where I can kind of move people between where they are in my sales funnel or where they are in how I need to contact them this week was really, really helpful. So I hope this gives you some examples of ways that Trello could be used in your business. If you guys have any questions about like particular task and how you might organize it, we might be able to throw together an example right here on the phone. But you can kind of see that it really can be customized to however you think, however you like to stay organized. All right, I'm just going to look at the Q&A box. Oh, Deborah was asking questions in the how does it alert you? Gmail. So Deborah also asked, do you have to have Trello open in order for it to notify you? No, you don't. Nope, it's always there. Oops. Mary asked, how do you move a person you've contacted into another category? So let's just say this is person 1. You just drag them. So let's say person 1 has shown interest. They scheduled a strategy call, so I'm going to put them here until I've talked to them. Now that I've talked to them, they are knee-deep in a project, would like a follow-up in May. Let's pretend I can spell. So I'm going to set a due date for May 5th, save, and then I'm going to move this to follow up at a later date. So now, as it gets close to May 5th, this will start to turn yellow, and then it'll turn red. So if I'm looking here, I'll be able to kind of see at a glance the people that are coming due. And all of my notes will be here. Obviously, I'd put the phone number and email so I know how to contact them. So I can add this to the comment, or I can also add it to the description. And then after I follow up with them, I might add another comment to still really interested, send proposal. And now I could move them to my other board, maybe where it's like my to-dos for sending proposals or that kind of thing. Or maybe I create a board here, which is proposals sent. So now I sent the proposal, so I'm going to put that here. And now I know, okay, the proposal's been sent, and I need to follow up with these people until I've heard yay or nay from them. And then once I'm done with this person, I just archive. So I can just archive it, and they just go into kind of a archive space where I can review, like I can always bring them back, or I can just delete them completely because I don't need them on this board anymore. So it works pretty, pretty intuitively. Great question, Mary. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. I don't see any hands raised. Cool. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. So in conclusion, no matter what it is you use, you need some way to stay organized other than it's all in my head, because that works for a while, but then you either get too much, you get too busy, you get too tired. I know that just a couple years ago, having it all in my head really worked. Then I had a baby, and suddenly my brain doesn't work anymore. Never realized that was a thing, but it is. And getting things out of my head and onto paper or onto something that I can see has made a huge difference in just making sure that balls don't get dropped, my clients are getting taken care of, and I'm not going batshit crazy trying to keep track of everything. Project management software is only good if you and your team actually uses it. So it's totally pointless to set up this whole system if no one's actually going to log in and use it. That's why the simpler it is to use, the better. Find something that works the way you think, and the sky is the limit for what you can use it for. So Trello definitely jives with the way my brain works, and I can really use it in a lot of different ways because it is so simple and customizable. I've used other software like Basecamp, Teamwork PM, Asana. I'm sure I've tried other ones. I can't think of them off the top of my head. And they all had like really great, robust features, but there was always something missing, like being able to create a template, or they were just too complex, and being able to see kind of where everything was. I actually use what do I use? What's it called? Let me go on my computer. I use Bento Box on my Mac for actually tracking my website projects, as in like who I'm waiting on things from. I could probably put that in Trello, but I've just been using Bento for the last few years, so all of my projects are already there. So that way when I have a client come back, I can just kind of reactivate their project. So having something that allows you to track, who you're waiting to hear back from, or who you need to follow up with, that kind of thing, is going to just really, really help you stay organized. Hold on, there's some questions over here. Deborah says, does this information back up, or is the information in the cloud? It's all in the cloud. It's all in the Trello software itself. And then Mary asks, can you show an example of a template that would be useful? Yes. So let's do this. So we're going to add a call. Onboarding template. So I'm going to create a checklist. Sent proposal, received deposit, sent contract, scheduled first call. So this might be like a new client is kind of going through the process of signing up. This would be the checklist that they all go through. Now this becomes a template. So what I can do is now I can copy this. So basically this card is now a template, and I could even create, if I wanted to, Like let's pretend that this is called, so just shown interest. Now it's called templates. These templates are just going to reside on this board. So now let's say my strong lead has said yes. All right, now I need to go through the onboarding process. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to rename it Bob. I'm going to keep it on, so copy to this board. I'm going to keep it on this board. I could move it to another board if I wanted to. Which list doesn't go under? Let's pretend strong lead is actually like new client. So you guys kind of see where I'm going with this. So then I close this. Now I have Bob, who now needs to go through this process. He's already in the list that I need him to be in, on the board I need him to be in. So I can just keep duplicating that each time. Does that make sense? So I hope that helps, Mary. Even with this template, I could also be adding attachments. Like let's say there is a document that each person needs to fill out. I could add that as an attachment. If I had different add-ons, I'm sure there's other things I could add to this. So you create basically what it is you need to happen with this particular task, and then you just copy it over and over again, and it becomes a template for you. So I hope that helps. Good. So Mary says, that's great. It's portable too. Deborah says she used GQ in the past. I'll have to check that out. I've never heard of it. And you like this tool. Fantastic. All right. So back to the presentation. If you guys still have questions, let me know. Okay, so that's basically all I had to share with you today about Trello. Next week, we're going to be talking about why your point of view matters more than your credentials. Oftentimes when we are starting our businesses and claiming ourselves an expert, we think we need to have all of these letters by our name, all of these different certifications. And I know with many coaches, because I work with a lot of coaches, that can become a stopping point to even really getting your business off the ground, is that you keep doing all these credentials because you feel like it makes you more credible and that would make things easier to sell. Usually it's not the case. So before you start taking additional trainings to try to get more letters and numbers after your name, let's talk about what really matters to clients, why your point of view will trump credentials most of the time. So that will be our topic next week. As many of you know, I am due to have my second baby in 2 weeks, so we may be meeting next week, we may not be meeting next week. I will email, or I intend to email everyone, like just a quick, we're not meeting this week before I head to the hospital. If I can't do that, I will post it on Facebook. So if you, for some reason, you don't get a reminder next week for LOBoratory, check Facebook, and I will have posted there, what's going on, because I obviously do not want to leave you guys hanging. And it's also a good opportunity just to join the Facebook community if you search for the Land of Brand. That way you can stay connected and stay updated with things that are going on. All right. Deborah says, take us to the hospital with you. Yeah, I wish. That'd be a little difficult and probably not that as pleasant as you would think. But I will tell you that when I have the baby, he will be here with me for the first 6 months. He will be right there in his swing, probably during many of these calls. So you will get to see him. So that's all. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. I look forward to seeing you all next week. If you have topics that you'd like to see, email holly@thelandofbrand.com. For now, I will bid you adieu, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye, everyone.